this year. She is also on the national level. She is known by so many. She speaks fantastic. She's extremely passionate about her fight and raising awareness, and more importantly, raising money. She literally lives in our backyard, well, in Coal City, not quite in our backyard. But I want all of you to give a very warm welcome to Megan Bug. She's 17 years old, currently 4 years in a fight that she too no longer has any chemotherapy options. How can that be? I want all of you to give all of your attention to her and think about that. How can we come together collectively to change that? So Megan, come on up. I can't wait for everybody to meet you. You look absolutely stunning. So I met her through the cancer world when she was first diagnosed, and then I actually got to meet her face to face just last week. And when I got home, I was asked, well, how was it? And I think everybody would agree with me here. I said, she is simply angelic. You have such an aura about you, Megan. Don't ever stop speaking the fight. You're doing an amazing job. And I just want to give a shout out to her only sibling, Mackenzie, who's been amazing, and her mom and dad, Kent and Debbie. Thank you so much for coming. So please give your attention to Megan.
Thank you. I would like to thank Cal's Angels and all of the wonderful people who are part of this organization for giving me the opportunity to speak to you tonight about a topic that not only dominates my life, but drives me every single day. Childhood cancer has touched the lives of so many people I know, and many thousands more who I don't know. Tonight, I am humbled, proud, and motivated to be a voice for all the brave kids, past and present, who have experienced the nightmare that is childhood cancer. Cancer is a horrible disease. Its goal is to eventually take over your body and your life. As a kid like me who has childhood cancer, it's harder for our bodies to fight off this disease, but it's also harder for our bodies to handle the poison we call chemotherapy. Childhood cancer has dominated my life since Christmas Day 2014. My parents first saw a bump on my left forearm when my sister, my two neighbors, and I were trying on the new clothes we received for Christmas. I knew something had not been right about my body for quite some time, but I was just a scared 13-year-old girl, so I didn't say anything. Little did I know that when my dad took me to my pediatrician the next day, my life would change forever. After 4 days of blood tests, CT scans, PET scans, MRIs, and bone marrow tests, I learned the news that would change my life and the life of my family forever. I have been fighting stage 4 alveolar rhabdomyosarcoma since my official diagnosis on December 30th, 2014. Since then, I have been through 90 weeks of intense chemotherapy. Chemotherapy for us kids is much different than many adult treatments. During many of my chemo treatments, I would be kept inpatient for 5 days and get 9 different chemo infusions during that week. Those weeks were the absolute worst because not only did the treatments make me sick 24 hours a day, but I was also homesick. I would try to sleep the day away, but I would have to wake up every single hour to throw up again. It was awful. I also had over 120 radiation treatments, and for some of them, I had to wear a full face mask and have my head bolted down so I couldn't move for 15 minutes straight. I have also had 3 surgeries and have now relapsed 3 times due to the lack of funding and treatment. I currently have what my doctors think is a 7-centimeter tumor wrapped around my aorta. Because I have used all of my chemotherapy options, radiation is the only thing left for me. Surgery is not an option because to reach my tumor, they would have to crack my chest open, which is too risky. Also, since my cancer is rare and only 200 kids are diagnosed every year, there are little to no clinical trials available for me. I have scans coming up on March 11th to see if the latest radiation treatments worked on my tumor and to make sure there is no other cancer in my body. This always brings loads of anxiety because without any chemotherapy options left, my treatment options are very limited. I have also experienced countless side effects caused by the toxic treatments the medical community still uses to treat us kids, like extreme nausea, hair loss, nerve damage in legs and feet, heart damage, shortness of breath, hormone damage, possible infertility, ongoing digestive issues, bone and joint pain, and short-term memory loss, just to name a few. And those are just the physical side effects. The mental battle that we kids and teens face can be so much worse than the physical, and unfortunately, it often goes unnoticed by people. It's hard enough being a teenager, but it's even harder when you are constantly worried about every single bump, bruise, or pain being your cancer coming back. The anxiety and fear that comes with childhood cancer is awful and life-changing, and I want you all to know that childhood cancer is nothing like the cute, smiling, bald kids that you see on TV commercials. It is absolute horror every single day, and no kid should have to live with constant pain and fear, but that's where an organization like Cal's Angels comes in. While I was in the midst of my chemo and radiation treatments, I would always search for the things that would take my mind off the constant mental and physical pain. When I was in the hospital, I would research places I wanted to visit, knowing that many of them were just dreams and would probably never happen for me. For some reason, I was just drawn to the natural beauty that seemed to be everywhere in the country of Iceland. For some reason, I kind of put the thought in the back of my mind, but then a representative from Cal's Angels contacted my mom about granting me a relapse gift. And one of the awesome things about Cal's Angels is that they recognize how difficult relapses can be for childhood cancer victims. From a mental standpoint, relapses are much tougher to deal with than the initial treatment. Cal's Angels agreed to help fund a 5-day trip for me and my dad to Iceland. It was a trip I will never forget because not only was it incredible, but for those 5 days, I forgot that I had cancer. That's the type of gift that Cal's Angels provides to kids like me. I could never thank the organization enough for all they do, and I'm so appreciative to all of you for coming out tonight, for not only supporting this organization, but for the support you are showing all kids who are fighting this terrible disease. I've been through a lot since that first day in December of 2014. But even with all I've been through, I realize that I am one of the lucky ones because I am still here today fighting. Throughout my personal journey, I have met so many other brave kids who are fighting with everything they have. Kids like Jacob, Sophia, little Ellie, Olivia, Emma, Evie, Ava, and so many others who are battling every single day with outdated treatments that haven't really changed in the past 30 years. I also have heroic friends like Sophia and my best friend Mia, who tragically lost their battles, and I still grieve every day over losing them. It breaks my heart to see so many kids being treated with the same chemotherapy that my parents would have been treated with when they were kids. We kids are still being treated with chemotherapy drugs that were made from Agent Orange that was used as a toxic chemical during World War II. The side effects are so toxic that 2/3 of those who survive childhood cancer will face at least one chronic health condition, and some childhood cancer patients even die from the complications caused from the chemotherapy treatments and not the cancer itself. These after effects of treatment include heart damage, lung damage, infertility, memory loss, stunted growth, hearing loss, and most importantly, the development of secondary cancers. I also have friends who have beaten their cancer only to find out that the chemotherapy has caused a second form of cancer and they have to fight all over again. There was a recent study completed by Dr. Arndt from the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota who determined that with my specific type of cancer, which is stage 4 alveolar rhabdomyosarcoma, that there has been no progress in survival rates in our country over the past 50 years. Over the last 30 years, there have been only 3 new drugs approved by the FDA to specifically treat childhood cancer. That's why kids like me, who have used up all of our limited chemotherapy options, are just left hoping that our cancer doesn't come back again. That's just not fair, and we have to do better. The only way to change the lives of these kids fighting cancer is with better treatments, but that's where the problem lies. The harsh truth is that the big pharmaceutical companies do not see childhood cancer as profitable, so as a result, they don't invest money in the way they do for adult cancers. It is true that pediatric cancer only represents 1% of all cancers in our country, but I believe the people who look at it this way are really missing the point. The average age an adult is diagnosed with prostate cancer is 66 years old, but the average age a kid gets cancer is 6. Imagine if that was your child. I've heard it said that if we could cure childhood cancer, it would be the equivalent of curing both prostate and breast cancer in terms of productive years saved. Unfortunately, the big drug companies don't seem to care about that because finding cures for childhood cancer does nothing for their bottom line. Therefore, it is up to the federal government to pick up the slack, but they have also failed us miserably. The entire annual budget for the National Institute of Health to research cancer treatments is about $5 billion, but childhood cancer receives about 3.8% of that, or $192 million. Compare this to other types of cancer, like breast cancer, which receives over $545 million a year, in addition to the millions it already gets from the drug companies. We have made such amazing advancements in the treatment of breast cancer and prostate cancer, but it's because of the overwhelming amounts of money that have been dedicated to research better treatments. Our government currently spends more on prostate cancer research than on all 13 types of childhood cancer combined. With all the money given to breast cancer, it now has a 90% survival rate, yet we still have a type of childhood cancer known as DIPG that has a 0% survival rate. No child should ever get cancer, but every child who does should be given a chance to survive. We have to do better, but as our country, we currently are not. As a result, we kids aren't so lucky. Every kid has dreams for their future, like going to college, getting married, and starting a family. But for some of those kids, that will never happen. The reason is because of a severe lack of funding. No child deserves to have cancer, and no child ever deserves to die from this terrible disease. Our country has to make curing childhood cancer a priority. Did you know that 1,500 kids will die this year alone from cancer? And if we can continue to sit on our hands and do nothing, 1,500 more will die the next year and the next year. It has to stop. Now, some of you might be wondering, why should you care or donate? Because it's not your kid. Well, it's not until it is. My passion has become to not only fight my own personal battle, but to help raise awareness and funding for all children like me who are fighting this awful fight. That's why I decided to start doing something about it. I've made it my personal goal to end childhood cancer. Every single day in our country, 43 more kids learn that they have childhood cancer. And that's also 43 more sets of parents that have to go through what my parents have been through. But that's only in the U.S. Every 2 minutes, a child somewhere in the world is diagnosed with cancer. And every 2 minutes, a family has to hear the words they never thought they would hear. Your child has cancer. That means more siblings will have to go through what my sister Mackenzie has been through, as she's watched me and supported me as I fight my battle. Many people don't understand the toll that fighting cancer takes on not just the victim, but the entire family. It's especially hard on the brothers and sisters who have to watch helplessly as kids like me fight for our lives. Those brothers and sisters still have lives to live, and people don't realize how hard it is for them. As we fight back against childhood cancer, please don't forget the brothers and sisters, because they're a very important part of the story too. Kenzie, I know watching me fight cancer has been really hard for you, and I want you to know how much I love and appreciate you and your support. Could you please come up here, as I have a special gift for you. Childhood cancer is the #1 cause of death by disease in children, so I began researching where I could raise money to support. I set up an online directing fundraising page with an initial goal of raising $10,000. Thanks to the amazing support of so many people and organizations, I have now raised over $157,000 to support childhood cancer research. I have also met personally with all of our state and federal legislators. I worked personally with State Representative David Welter to get the Illinois House of Representatives to pass a House resolution supporting an increase in federal funding for childhood cancer. This past November, I had the honor of attending Cure Fest, which is a childhood cancer advocacy event in Washington, D.C. And I plan to be back there this September because seeing so many brave childhood cancer warriors in one place motivates me much more to continue fighting and raising awareness for this cause. Everyone can make a difference by helping spread the word that we kids are worth way more than 4%. We have to do better for us, and due to the lack of attention from the big drug companies and lack of focus from the federal government, kids fighting cancer like me are forced to raise money to fund the research for our own treatments. In a country as advanced and wealthy as ours, that's just not right. But kids like me are not going to stay quiet any longer. I have brave cancer fighters from across the country who are joining me in this fight because we have all decided that enough is enough. Mark my words, a change is coming. But we need your help to make it happen. There are so many kids like me who are counting on your help. Thank you again to Cal's Angels for not only the support you have given me, but more importantly, for the support you continue to give all kids who are bravely fighting childhood cancer. I also want to thank all of you in attendance for tonight, for supporting Cal's Angels and all the childhood cancer warriors across our country. This speech may have only been 12 minutes long, but within that time, 6 kids have already been diagnosed with childhood cancer and will be living the nightmare. Please don't let these kids run out of treatment options like I have. We have to do better, and I hope you will join me in the fight to end childhood cancer. Thank you.